It's a really unique experience for someone like me, a composer, arranger, musician. First of all, to have worked with one orchestra for 23 years and to have had so many opportunities to have written music for this orchestra. I mean, I've written over 300 pieces for the orchestra when you factor in the arrangements I've done, the orchestrations, and some of the commissioned pieces. And to really know who you're writing for, and to think about actual people, as you know, when I'm writing a flute part, I think, Rebecca's going to play that, or clarinet, Kenny's going to play that. You just think about specific people in the orchestra because you know their sound and you know what it's going to sound like. And of course, to have somebody as amazing as Juliana, incredibly talented classical musician, but also a really wonderful jazz musician who is the real deal. She just doesn't play at jazz, she plays jazz. There are few violinists in the world that I know of who are true, incredible classical musicians, but also amazing jazz musicians, and they play that language like it should be played. They're improvisers. There are only a few, and the best is sitting right next to me, Juliana Thade, which is true. And because I think what we have talked about, growing up in the house with your dad, a jazz pianist, and you doing jam sessions with your father, I mean, come on.
It was really cool. I mean, I really feel so lucky that I grew up in such a diverse musical household. And like Jeff said, my dad is a jazz pianist, and so there was always music going on, and I would just kind of stumble in with my violin. And I remember being maybe 7 or 8 and playing Satin Doll with my dad's band.
That's great.
At a park concert.
Yeah.
And ever since I came to the RPO, you have really helped foster that part of my playing, which is something that I didn't always have an outlet for.
Yeah.
So I've really loved getting to do
and
that.
it's always such a surprise for the audience because they expect you're going to stand up and play something, but they never realize it's going to be jazz. But it was such a thrill to be asked to write a concerto for Juliana, and at first I wasn't sure what direction it was going to go in. And I'm not aware of any jazz violin concerto out there. So I kept trying to kind of maneuver away from jazz because I'm wondering, well, what are people who come to the symphony concerts, not the pops, but the classical series, what are they going to think about a jazz concerto? But it just took over, and it became the thing that I really wanted to do. And once I made that decision, it wasn't easy to write, but the piece began to flow.
Yeah, and we had a great time working on it together. It was such an amazing experience to be involved with it from the beginning of us talking and you finally coming to the conclusion, okay, it's going to be a jazz concerto, and I'm thinking about this kind of movement and this kind of movement, all the way up until the point that I was going to Jeff's house and he'd play for me something on the computer, show me the music, and say, hey, can you play that? And let's see how that sounds. Oh, let's tweak this. So to get to be involved in the process from the beginning was exciting.
So we had this really wonderful back and forth, and it's exciting and terrifying at the same time. Because you want to please the artist, you want them to be happy. At the same time, you know, you're trying to come up with things and you're just praying they're going to like it and it's going to be something valuable. It's a pretty intense experience, but it was really wonderful.
And now I want to please the artist when I play it.
So for me, as a composer, to have this kind of opportunity is unheard of. I mean, who has their own orchestra to write for and conduct? It's a very rare experience, and I'm very thankful for it. And I'm also thankful to be a part of the RPO family for 23 years.